All right, guys. So I just wanted to hop on here real quick and share with you guys some 7 tips on how to be successful when it comes to being your own boss as an entrepreneur. I think this is super, super important. And I just wanted to share with you guys 7 reasons of why you should be your own boss. My name is Shay Toya, and I am a mompreneur, and I've worked for myself now for 10 years, and I got started at the age of 21, which feels like such a long time ago now. So at the age of 21, I actually got introduced to Primerica, which is an amazing company. But it was my first introduction of any type of entrepreneurship. I never even thought that entrepreneurship was possible for me. Never thought that I could possibly build wealth or anything like that because, my mom at the age of 13 was a stay-at-home mom. And after the divorce, she started working at a job, being a waitress, a cocktail server, and she just had no idea that entrepreneurship or anything like that could be possible. But, she did want better for us, and she thought it was super, super important that her children had a great education as well as, got a job possibly as a doctor or anything, something like that. So my mom did, want better for us. It's just of course, you don't know what you don't know, and she didn't know entrepreneurship was possible. And I got introduced at about 20, age to 21, at the age of 21, and now I'm 30, about to be 31, which I can't believe. So now it's been about 10 years since I've been introduced to entrepreneurship, and I've actually had to work on myself a lot. So I've had to work on myself a lot, just to get the skills that was necessary to be my own boss. Um, Me and Kevin, we actually run a construction business here in Las Vegas. And with that being said, like there was a lot of different things that we've had to learn that when it came to being your own boss, like hiring employees. When you do start making money, what do you do with the money? So I think that's very, very important for these things that you could possibly think of, you know, there's things that you have to learn. So before you become an entrepreneur, it's super, super important that you take those little things into consideration. And if you're like most people, you possibly thought, hey, I want to be my own boss, or hey, I can do this job better than you. Why don't I own the business? But at the same time, like a lot of times, there's more work that has to go into place than just getting the job completed. You possibly got payroll, you possibly have you got different possibly taxes that you have to pay. So there's different things that you have to take into consideration before you actually start your business. And then when you actually get into business, what business you want to get into, there's so many options out there. But today I'm just going to be talking about the 7 reasons of why you should be your own boss. And especially as me, as who was an entrepreneur or mompreneur, I have 2 kids. I have a daughter who's about to be a year this year, which is crazy. And I also have a son who's 3, and he's going to be 4 this year. And so to me, like it's super, super important that I have that ability to be able to work from home, and I have that ability to be able to spend time with my children, and I have that ability to be able to create my own schedule. So to me, that like those reasons are super, super beneficial for me to be my own boss. And so here are my 7 reasons of why you should be your own boss. So, number one is being an entrepreneur actually helps you realize your self worth and abilities. I think this is super, super great and beneficial because, as I said, like being an entrepreneur, I've had to learn these things that possibly, I've had to work on myself. I have had to read. I've had to watch audibles. Like if there wasn't something that I didn't know when this problem came up, I Googled it or I went onto YouTube. So that being said, as an entrepreneur, you have to be willing to learn, find the answer, not wait for anyone else and be the solution provider, not just like as an employee, like you can wait on the boss to give you the direction. But as a entrepreneur or someone who's possibly looking to go the next stage, like you have to be able to not wait on nobody else. So that is one thing that, before you even get into entrepreneurship, like you have to be a go-getter and you have to be able to find the answer. But because of this, This actually increases your abilities. It increases your self-worth, you knowing that you're worth it. And as I said, like I've had to read a lot of books, I've had to read a lot of audios, I've had to watch a lot of YouTube videos. And that is why, one reason why all my, I did a lot of different skills is because we needed a website, or we're looking into hiring employees. Like I've had to find the answer. I've taken HR classes. Like there's so many different things that entails when it comes to running a business. So I think that does help you realize your self-worth as well as your abilities. And being a business owner, it will push you, or it's going to push you out of business, which I think is super, super important. It is going to push you outside of your comfort zone. It's going to make you do things that you possibly never thought you would. Just like me going live on here on Facebook or YouTube. So I think that's super, super important. Also, it's going to develop the mindset that you never had, which I think is super, super important, because I've had to increase my mindset that, the possibilities that are available to me are actually available to me. As I said, like I had my mom, like growing up, she was a stay-at-home mom, and her not ever having a job and then her going to become a waitress. My mom wanted more for me. She just didn't have the mindset of entrepreneurship. And as I said, like there's nothing wrong with being an employee, but there's and also I don't believe entrepreneurship's for everyone. So my number two is your success depends on you. It feels good, having those accomplishments. It feels good, being like, I did that. It feels good for my kids to see me work hard and accomplish something when it comes to running a successful business. When you work for yourself, you control your destiny. You're not relying on someone else to tell you, hey, you got a job today. So to me, that's really, really important, because I never want to be in the position where I've been at a company for 20 years and I'm being told you're fired. And I have actually been laid off too from a position. And it doesn't feel very good. And luckily, at the time when I did get laid off from that position, I didn't have children. So I could only imagine like being laid off from a position and having kids and not knowing what is it that I'm going to do. So I think that's super, super important. Um, and also, when it comes to entrepreneurship, you decide if you're going to work or not, which can be hard if if you get stuck in that employee mindset with just showing up. Like as an entrepreneur, that's not possible. Which I think is super, super important that we understand that. Like as an entrepreneur, like that's not possible for us to do so. Like you have to show up regardless. And so I feel like a lot of times that's why people get started, but you have to show up, and it's very, very important. So number three is that you do get to take control of your schedule. And I'm not going to say that you get to work any less. As entrepreneurs, we probably work 10 times harder than employees. Or, instead of having working a 40-hour shift, you probably work more like a 50 or 80. But you get to decide when are those working hours. The other day I posted about being able to work from home and being able to take my son to a picnic with his cousins because I'm working from home. Like I might work a lot of hours, but I get to choose when is it that I'm going to work, which to me is super, super important. I get to take my kids, like once my son starts school this year, which I can't believe it. He's turning 4, he's starting preschool. I get to take him to school and I get to go to all the recitals. I don't have to miss anything out because I am an entrepreneur and we have built a successful business where that provides us the opportunity to do so, which I think is super, super important. And so number 4 is working from home possibilities. As a mompreneur, I think this is awesome. I get to work from home with my children. Yesterday, I took my 2 kids. As I said, I have a 3-year-old and a 12-month-old, and I took them to the indoor playground while I got some work done. And I got to, take quick little breaks, go down the slide. But at the same time, I was working, but my kids were having a great time and I was there. So that makes it really, really great to be a stay-at-home parent that is also working from home. And I have the opportunity to raise my children. I don't have to worry about someone else raising them. All the things that we hear about from the news, like to me, it's super, super important that I raise my kids. Number 5 is that you get to express your creativity, which I think is super, super important. And, some people may not be super creative. I love being creative. I love creating designs. I love marketing. I love creating websites. I love creating graphics. That's some of the things that I love. But if you are a creative person, then, this could possibly be a great thing for you. As I said, that sometimes you have to think outside of the box when it comes to being an entrepreneur. And if you are not creative, which is awesome, is that you can actually hire someone to be creative. You can hire someone with Fiverr. Fiverr is super cheap, or you could possibly find another location for you to market your business and be creative. Number 5 is, do you get to enjoy your work? Depending on what business you want to get into, it's very important that you're possibly passionate about what you're doing, because as an entrepreneur or someone who's working for themselves, a lot of times we do work a lot of hours. And so for that reason, like, it's super important that you do enjoy your work, you do enjoy what you're doing. So for that reason, I think that's very, very important. Um, Also, as in number 5 is that you get to this, also, part of number 5 is that you get to leverage the rest. So the things that you possibly do not like to do, if let's say you're not creative, and I said you can use things like Fiverr, you can hire out, you can actually hire someone to do the things that you don't like to do, which I do think is very, very important for you to not have to be there all day, every day, and actually creating systems that you are using. I actually use a system, or I've read a book called E-Myth. Before you hire your first employee, I do recommend that you read the book E-Myth. It's just about the myth of being an employee, which I think is super, super important. Me and my hubby actually usually reads it once a year. And if you haven't read it, do so. But it's just going to talk to you about the myths of being your own boss, as well as the importance of hiring employees. And once you do so, like, creating the actual systems that need to be in place before you do so. And so I think that's one of the most important books that you could possibly read for your business. Um, and I'm also huge on hiring things out, but I also think it's super, super important that before you do so, like, you have to be ready. Like, you can't look at an employee to save your business. And I think that could possibly be a fault that some entrepreneurs think. Like, they're going to hire this employee and they're going to be like, oh, like, I'm going to hire this employee because, like, they're going to save my business. And nope, like, your business has to be already, like, like, that employee can't take a rescue your business. Like, you actually have to have that system in place before you do so. If not, it's going to be chaotic. You're going to waste money. Like, I think that's super, super important that we don't just hire an employee because our business is struggling. Like, we actually have to have that business in place. Like, I feel like last year, like, we had a really good year, money wise. But at the same time, like, we had a lot of lessons that we had to learn when it comes to running a business. And we were hiring people out just to hire people out because we possibly did not want to do the work. But because of that, because we weren't ready to actually hire that person, like, we could possibly spent more money than that was necessary to do the work that was necessary to do so. So for that reason, like, I think it's super, super important for you to be at the right stage of your business before you actually do hire someone out. Number 7 is, it feels good to accomplish something. And you have reasons to get up in the morning. Like, when I get up in the morning, I have goals to hit. I have things I want to accomplish for the month. We have big goals that we're fighting for. Like, and I think that's super, super important. Like, to me, having a little girl and a little boy, like, to me, it's like, it's super, super important that my little boy sees me as a woman that he wants to look up for when it comes to possibly a wife that he wants. Like, I'm hardworking, I have great character. And then when it comes to my little girl, my daughter, like, it's very, very important that she sees me as a woman that's hardworking, that's dedicated, like, and possibly a role model for a woman that she wants to be. Like, I think that's super, super important. And then also the next number, I actually got it mixed up. That was number 6. And so number 7 is to leave it legacy. I'm building a business to change my family tree. The truth is, like, my family that I've grown up from didn't come from wealth. And so, like, we're changing our family tree for the better, providing my family, like, we're not, like, my son's not going to have to start from the bottom. Like, he's going to be able to take from what we've started and run with it. So I think that's very, very important. Like, we're going to teach him the skills that's necessary to run a successful business, to have the investments that's necessary to double what we've done. And I think that's one issue that, we've, someone who's possibly came from not having something, like had to start from the bottom. It's taught me a lot starting from the bottom, but I don't want my son to do so. And another thing is I want to leave a mark on this world. Like I want to, like when I do, God forbid, we're all going to leave, but when I do leave this earth, like I want to have left a mark in someone's life that I've made a difference, which I think is super, super important. And I can do that with entrepreneurship, and I can also do that with videos like this one. Um, and so I just thought I would hop on here real quick and just share with you guys some tips on what it takes to be an entrepreneur. I've shared the pros, I've shared the cons. One of the things that I am getting into right now is travel, because the truth is, I love being an entrepreneur, but I also love to travel, and I want to travel the world more and more and more. So I actually got started in travel just because I've been watching my friend Stephanie, who's been traveling the world on like, I think she has a trip planned every month for the next like for a couple months. So for that reason, like I want to do the same. And I've actually created a PDF. It's 5 ways on how you can make money within the travel industry. And as I said, I've done a lot of different things. But I've, really have enjoyed getting into the travel industry, having the perks as a travel agent, being able to travel the world, and getting free trips and also reduced trips. Some of them are not free, which is fine. But if you'd like to check out that free PDF, please let me know. I would love to share it with you. But I just wanted to hop on here real quick and share with you guys some value. And I hope you guys have an amazing day.